And I'm back. I wish I had checked before I stopped the last recording, because there's only like 6 or 7 slides left in this chapter, so I'm going to go ahead and knock them out. So, functional groups of neurons. Neuronal pools are groups of interneurons within the central nervous system. They are composed of neuroglial cells, dendrites, and axons in one direction and in one location, and cell bodies in another location. The type of information processed by a pool is defined by the synaptic connections in that pool. Connections between pools allow for complex mental activity, planned movement, coordination, and personality. And input neurons initiate a series of signals that starts the activity pool. So here's the axon input. Here's all the members of the pool. Here's all the postsynaptic neurons. Fewer synapses, input neurons alone cannot trigger an action potential. More synapses firing on the input neuron can trigger an action potential, and again, fewer cannot. So if it's only these two are firing or these two are firing, you get no action potential, but if they all fire together in the neuronal pool, then you get the action potential. Neural circuits are patterns of synaptic connections between neural pools. You have two basic types. You have diverging circuits, where a single input branches out to make contact with multiple postsynaptic neurons that follow the same pattern. Again, diverging, they diverge. They allow a single neuron to communicate with multiple parts of the brain and or the body. The characteristics of these transmitting incoming sensory information is sent from the spinal cord to the different neural pools of the brain for processing. So here's the brain. Here's the input neuron of the brain, sends fibers to skeletal muscles, and you see that it's diverging. Here's one signal breaking into 2, breaking into 4, breaking into 8. That is diverging. Input neurons, again, from the spinal cord, send signals to the brain in multiple tracks. Here's one signal, again, 2 signals going to multiple different parts of the brain. So there's a neuronal circuit. Neural circuits are converging. Remember, diverging, going out this way, converging, coming this way. The opposite configuration of diverging circuits, the axon terminals from multiple input neurons converge onto a single postsynaptic neuron. Control of skeletal movement is where you may find this, and allows the nervous system to respond to sensory information that it collects and processes. So here, all these different multiple inputs are all coming together into one axon terminal, a convergent circuit. The central nervous system has 2 mechanisms that stabilize these neural circuits and prevent electrical activity from becoming chaotic. One is the inhibitory circuits provide a negative feedback mechanism to control the activity of other circuits. And in other words, the production of these circuits actually slow down the formation of these signals. And synaptic fatigue occurs when synaptic transmission becomes progressively weaker with prolonged and extensive excitation. A condition that plays a role in these electrical signals is epilepsy. Again, epilepsy is defined as recurrent episodes of abnormal, disorganized electrical activity in the brain. That timing is called, those episodes are called seizures. They result from a sudden burst of excitatory electrical activity within a neuronal pool. May be triggered by instability in membrane potential of a single neuron. Excess excitation overwhelms the inhibitory circuits that normally prevent overexcitation. A continuous wave of excitation spreads over part of the brain, a partial seizure, or the entire brain, a generalized seizure, when no meaningful signals can be transmitted, and it will ultimately end due to synaptic fatigue. I had a dog, lost him last December 20. So it's been almost a year, but the last year and a half or so of his life He suffered from seizures. He would go into one of these seizures, his body would jerk. He would have the mild sensory disturbances, the loss of consciousness. He would barely be conscious when this was going on. He would jerk very violently, and they would sometimes last for minutes or minutes, but they continue until the synaptic fatigue sets in, and ultimately the signal just gets so weak that it no longer goes, and the muscle twitching and all stops. It was really scary when he would have one of those, and again, suffered from them for about the last year and a half of his life. And it was, again, there were some medications that we took on him that he took that when he had them made them much less severe. He continued to have them, but the first one or two he had were really violent. We were actually scared he was going to break his legs and all the way he was twitching. Then the last few he had were much less violent. They were just more almost to the point where he would just kind of lay down and look off, and his body would just kind of do this. It wasn't very violent at all. So the medication absolutely helped. Medications aimed at preventing seizures and allowing inhibitory circuits to function properly is the therapy. Again, for my little puppy dog, and he wasn't little, he was a pretty good sized dog. But he was on a medication. I cannot remember the name of the medication right now. But again, it helped tremendously. It didn't prevent them, but it made them much more manageable. And that concludes chapter 11. We will pick up with chapter 12 the next time we are together, and I will continue to make these videos to enhance the lecture. It's Tuesday afternoon where I am, so have a great rest of your day. I will see you next time we're all